Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. This is an aftermarket Switch gamepad and I really like it. I use this a lot. I'm very impressed with it, and it was about £20 and it's done me a world of service. Many hours have been put on this, playing Breath of the Wild and God, what's it called? Is it Everspace? Some space game that I like playing. Now, I came back to find that this was not working in Breath of the Wild. I've only just downloaded the DLC, would you believe, and this right pad isn't working. It only works in one direction, which is super annoying, so that means you can't pan around and see where you're going. So I went through the calibration screen and I couldn't calibrate it. If you try this, so basically it's impossible to calibrate because you can see it's got some sort of issue with it mechanically or electrically. And I discovered that really my kids had their cousins over and they were playing my games, which normally means abusing the equipment. So that's fine, that's something that happens. So I thought it'd be interesting to have a look to see how to sort this out, because mostly these devices contain potentiometers. And I feel if we can get in there and have a look at it, we can probably just clean it with a little bit of IPA. And also it's the first time I've opened up one of these. The interesting thing about these aftermarket gamepads is that they often have loads of different modes on them, interesting modes, so you can plug them into a PC and things like that. So if you're into playing PC versions or similar versions of games that you play on your Switch, it's kind of handy. You can transfer the controller. It gives you a use of the controller once you've finished playing with your Switch. And also, I guess if you're in emulation, maybe that's quite nice too. You could be using a similar control. Of course, the Nintendo controllers themselves won't give you that functionality. Now, I just got one screw in there that is loose but not quite out. So let's just get that out and then we'll crack it open. And I've never opened this before. I'm just going by what feels right. And I quite like the way those grey grip things cover the ends there. Oh, I've got the screw. Okay. Right, so let's pop this open. So we've got a typical motor. Oh, look at that. And these are all fairly standard. When you look inside, most controllers are the same. But something that's interesting here is the inclusion of a reset button, which isn't even marked on the back there, but there is a little hole. Fair enough, there is a reset hole. And there are test points here which do tell you, look, left, right, up, down, RX, TX, power, VBAC. Lots of stuff here that if you were making your own controller, wanted to adapt this, you could. That's quite cute too. Now we have to be a little bit careful because the rumble motors are soldered to the board, so they're going to be flopping around when we go further into the deconstruction of this controller. Just seeing if there's a way of popping this off. I don't think it's screwed. I think we should be able to get it off. There's something just... okay. Right, so we do have a little tang here. You might just see that. So that's splayed out a little bit because the screw is in that. So we're going to have to just pinch that slightly. And then it should just slide above that. I don't think it's been heat splayed. It's just from the screw force. Come on. Oh, that was lucky. So I used a little bit of force there, but fortunately all of the buttons of the control pad are actually held in by a second board with a pin header. That is great. Look at that. Now, I would never have expected that in a cheap controller. Never in a million years. Normally these things just spill all over the place. That is absolutely genius. And that contains all the LEDs, everything for the front panel. Excellent. So we just have this as a totally separate unit. So now's a good opportunity to go in there and clean it if it's a bit filthy. And look, that's the... what do we call those ones? The ZR? Yeah, well, it says L1, R1, but look, that's how they're operating. They're actually pushing those tack switches in there. There's the antenna right by your right finger. It's Bluetooth size, so I'm guessing it's Bluetooth. And the assembly here looks pretty standard, but this is fascinating. Look at the D connector. Sorry, the D pad. It's connected to the board in such a way. Oh my word, look at that. Separate module. Now, you say these things are cheap controllers, but they're definitely not cheap in their manufacture. This is a sophisticated build. Wowee, that's really cool. It's almost customizable. You can imagine just pulling out all these pieces and replacing them with Pro gear. It's interesting how they do that. It's probably so that they can keep reusing various aspects of the build. Right, so meanwhile, this is the joystick that's got the issue, and the reason it's got an issue is when you push left, it's not registering the left. So you've got the potentiometer there for left and right, and it looks good, it looks fine, but I suspect what we'll need to do is just clean it out with some IPA. We'll pour our IPA into the lid. Ooh, that's a good old serve in there. It's a shot. It's like a shot glass of IPA. Don't drink your IPA. Now I've got a little brush here, a little paintbrush, and I'm just going to apply it in and around the whole thing because it's a couple of years old now. No doubt there's gunk in there anyway, and it shouldn't harm anything. It's just a general cleaner. You can see there's a bit of blue writing on the board there. I should think it will attack that. Yeah, get that off. You can see it's cleaning it out. What I like to do though with IPA is I like to hold the board at an angle like this so that I can drip IPA through it, and I'd like the IPA to act as a solvent on any gunk and then hopefully run out. So you can choose which direction you want to orient it, where you think it's going to be the best way for getting all the IPA gunk out of your potentiometer. And then just gently mop it up, and of course make sure you crank that. And if it feels grungy and crunchy, keep going. And hopefully you'll clear that crunchiness out of there. And I would think, if you can, let this dry off for about 5-10 minutes and put maybe a tiny little drop of silicone oil in there. I think that would help it a lot, silicone oil, but make sure it doesn't go anywhere near the potentiometers because you want to keep those clean. So assembly is just going to be the reverse of what we did, and it should be nice and easy now. You can get these, by the way. I've seen packets of these of various flavours. I'm not sure what sizes and if they fit everything, but you can certainly pick some up. So if you've got some for your Xbox or Sony PlayStation, you could try them to see if they fit. You might have to swap them out. Now, this might be the tricky part where you've got to align the two halves. Let's see how that goes. I'm just focusing only on that. Everything else should just line up after you can get that in. That's your priority. Make sure you can get that pin header aligned, and I'm just turning it at some angles there. That looks like it's going in. That's it. That was nice and easy. Just pop the screws on and go test it. The moment of truth, we're going to go to the system settings screen, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going system settings. I'm going to scroll down to controllers and sensors, and then I'm going to go to calibrate control sticks. Now I'm going to press this right one down now. You can see that. Now when I move it, oh, look at that! That's working fine now. So that was all jittering and jumping around like a crazy person. But I'm going to go through the calibration because it was impossible to calibrate before. So all you do is hold it to the right and then release, down, release, left, release, up, release. And you might find if you're suffering from those drift issues, it's going to be something similar. It's just going to be some gunk in there. I'm super pleased with that. That was an easy fix. It took like a few minutes, and now I can get on with playing Breath of the Wild. Hopefully that's been of some use to you. Please like, share, subscribe, and as ever, thank you for watching.